One couple was supposed to have it all figured out. They were closed off, head over heels, and fans were convinced they'd walk away with 100 grand and a happily ever after. Then, in one episode, everything imploded in the most chaotic way imaginable. What came next sparked one of reality TV's wildest controversies, and the drama hasn't stopped since. This is the untold story of how Ace, Nick, Olandria, Taylor, and Cierra got tangled in a web of allegations, heartbreak, and questions that still don't have answers. From Love Island USA Season 7's most shocking exit to brand deal conspiracies, Nicolandria became the couple everyone obsessed over. But here's the real question. Was any of it genuine, or did we all get played? And listen, if you're even remotely into messy reality TV chaos, you need to smash that subscribe button right now because we're about to serve up drama hotter than the Fiji heat. Plus, apparently YouTube's algorithm is playing hard to get with us, so help a channel out. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's dive into this absolute mess.
Sierra Ortega entered the Love Island villa like she was born for it. 25, confident, stunning, and determined to find her match. And honestly, it looked like she actually succeeded. Her connection with Nick Fensteinberg was the kind of magic that makes producers thank the reality TV gods. They clicked from day one. While other couples stumbled through forced conversations and manufactured tension, Sierra and Nick were building something that felt different. They laughed easily, opened up without hesitation, and trusted each other in an environment specifically designed to destroy trust. It was refreshing, and viewers couldn't get enough. When they decided to close things off and make their relationship exclusive, shutting down any chance of exploring other connections, they became instant frontrunners. The fans adored them. Betting odds swung heavily in their favor. Sierra's Instagram followers climbed into the hundreds of thousands. Everything pointed toward a victory lap. For once, it seemed like Love Island might actually crown a couple that deserved the win. The path was clear, the momentum unstoppable. Cierra wasn't just winning a dating show, she was building an empire. The future looked blindingly bright, and nothing suggested that was about to change.
But the internet never forgets, and what people thought was buried in the past was about to explode in the worst way possible. It started small, just a single screenshot making the rounds on social media. That's all it ever takes these days, right? One image, one moment, one mistake, preserved forever in digital amber. The post was from February of that year, an Instagram story where Cierra casually used a slur while talking about cosmetic procedures, the kind of word that makes people's blood boil, a term targeting a specific community used like it meant nothing at all. The backlash hit like a freight train. Fans started digging, because of course they did, and they found another post from 2015 with the same offensive language. This wasn't a one-time slip. This was a pattern, and people were furious. The Love Island fandom went nuclear. Comment sections flooded with demands for action. People pointed to earlier in the season when another contestant had been quietly removed after offensive content surfaced. If production was willing to boot someone after 2 episodes for similar behavior, why was Cierra still there, living her best villa life? The accusations started flying that the show wasn't taking certain communities' concerns seriously. Petitions launched, fan accounts turned hostile, the pressure mounted with every passing hour. Cierra started hemorrhaging followers by the thousands, watching her carefully constructed platform crumble in real time. Brands that had been sliding into her DMs suddenly went silent. The dream was collapsing, and she had no idea it was even happening. Inside the villa, Cierra was blissfully unaware. That's the whole point of Love Island. No phones, no internet, no clue that your entire life is imploding online while you're cuddling on a daybed. She was still planning her future with Nick, still dreaming about that prize money, still believing she was America's sweetheart. Meanwhile, producers were managing a crisis that grew uglier by the minute. Fans threatened boycotts. Former contestants spoke out about feeling hurt and excluded. The situation was spiraling, and something had to give. The show had a decision to make, and they made it fast. Day 26 of the competition, exactly 1 week before the finale, Cierra was pulled aside. The other Islanders didn't know what was happening. They just knew she was gone. When the episode aired, narrator Ian Sterling delivered a brief, clinical announcement that gave away nothing. Cierra has left the villa due to a personal situation. That was it. No explanation, no context, barely another mention for the rest of the episode. She'd been erased like she'd never existed. For casual viewers who weren't chronically online, it probably seemed random. A family emergency maybe, or a health crisis. But for anyone paying attention to social media, the message couldn't have been clearer. Cierra was out, and she wasn't coming back.
The aftermath was brutal and immediate. Cierra's parents took control of her Instagram and posted a statement begging for compassion and understanding. They talked about how their daughter hadn't even seen the accusations yet, how their entire family was receiving threats, how someone had actually called authorities on them, trying to create more problems. The hate had spread beyond Cierra and was targeting everyone in her orbit. When she finally got her phone back and saw the destruction waiting for her, she posted a video taking full accountability. She apologized directly to the community she'd harmed, explained that she genuinely hadn't understood the weight and history of the language she'd used, and admitted she deserved every consequence coming her way. She called it an accountability video, not an apology video, which some people respected and others saw as semantic games. The damage was done, the consequences were real, and nothing was going back to how it was.
But while Cierra's world burned to the ground, someone else's life was just beginning to take off. And that someone was the absolute last person anyone expected. When Cierra left the villa, Nick Steenberg looked completely shattered. Or at least, that's how it seemed in the moment. The cameras caught him looking lost, talking about how his head had been clear about his future, and now everything felt uncertain. He'd just become single in one of the most jarring ways possible, watching his closed-off girlfriend get removed from the competition without warning or explanation. For about half an episode, viewers genuinely felt sorry for him. Poor Nick, caught up in someone else's controversy. His Love Island journey derailed through no fault of his own. The sympathy was real and widespread.
Then something absolutely wild happened. That exact same episode, Nick coupled up with Olandria Carson. Not the next day. Not after a respectful mourning period or some soul-searching. The same episode. And suddenly, he didn't look devastated anymore. He looked energized, excited, like a massive weight had been lifted off his shoulders. The transformation was so quick and so complete that it gave viewers emotional whiplash. One minute, he's talking about being heartbroken over Cierra. The next, he's grinning from ear to ear, getting to know someone new. It was jarring in a way that made people immediately suspicious. The timeline felt wrong, and viewers started connecting dots that maybe they weren't supposed to see.
Olandria had her own complicated situation going into this. She'd been part of one of the season's other solid couples with Taylor Williams. They'd built genuine chemistry, and fans had been rooting hard for them too. But then Casa Amor happened, that brutal twist where the villa splits and new people get introduced specifically to test everyone's loyalty and commitment. Both Olandria and Nick ended up getting dumped from the show during that chaos. In a twist that was new for that season, dumped Islanders got the chance to couple up with each other and return to the villa together as a team. That's when Nick and Olandria shared their first real moment. They kissed, supposedly just a friendly thank you for the second chance at the competition. But something about that kiss felt different to people watching. Still, they both insisted publicly that they just wanted to get back to their original partners. They were friends, helping each other out, nothing more serious than that.
Except, superfans had been noticing things for weeks, the way Nick and Olandria looked at each other, even when they were coupled up with other people. Little glances across the villa, comfortable body language when they talked, an ease between them that seemed to come naturally, without effort. People started shipping them as a couple before they were even actually together, creating fan accounts and making video edits set to romantic songs. The chemistry was undeniable to anyone paying close attention, so when Cierra left and Nick immediately pivoted to Olandria, it didn't feel like a desperate rebound situation.
It felt like something that had been simmering under the surface for a while, finally breaking free now that the obstacle was gone. Nicolandria was officially born, and the internet absolutely lost its mind in the best possible way. All right, quick time out here. If you're still with me and fully invested in this absolute circus, go ahead and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're literally only halfway through this story, and somehow it gets even messier. Also, drop a comment and let me know whose side you're on in all this, because honestly, I change my mind every 5 minutes. Okay, back to the chaos. Boop!
Nick and Olandria didn't actually win Love Island USA. They came in second place, losing to another couple in that final viewer vote. But in every way that actually matters in the reality TV economy, they won everything that counted. The second they walked out of that villa and got their phones back, they discovered they'd become legitimate cultural icons. Nicolandria wasn't just a cute couple name that fans came up with, it was an entire movement. Fan accounts dedicated to them had tens of thousands of followers. Their photos together were being turned into aesthetic Pinterest boards and Tumblr collections. Young people were writing actual fan fiction about their relationship. They weren't just popular contestants from a dating show. They'd tapped into something deeper and more powerful. Part of the phenomenon was definitely how they looked together. Both of them are objectively gorgeous in that way that makes regular people question every life decision they've ever made. Nick with his model features and that laid-back California energy. Olandria with her elegance and southern charm that photographs like a fashion editorial. They looked like a brand campaign come to life, and actual brands noticed immediately. But it was more than just surface-level attraction. They represented something that felt genuinely rare in reality television. A couple that seemed to authentically like each other, support each other's dreams, and build each other up, instead of tearing each other down for drama. In a genre built entirely on manufactured conflict and toxic relationship dynamics, Nicolandria felt refreshingly healthy and mature. People wanted to believe in them.
The brand deals started rolling in so fast it was almost absurd. Nick had been modeling for Kulani Kinis, this Australian swimwear brand, for years before Love Island even happened. He loved their products so much he literally got their logo tattooed on his body. So when the brand offered to do a special collaboration featuring his personal favorite pieces from their collection, it was the perfect partnership. But the real magic happened when they brought Olandria into the campaign too. The photos they produced were absolutely stunning. Sun-soaked beaches, matching swimsuits, chemistry that didn't look forced or manufactured for the camera. Fans went completely feral. The collaboration sold out so fast that people were joking about needing Hunger Games-style combat skills just to secure a purchase. The website couldn't handle the traffic.
Then came the Nick's professional makeup deal, which somehow was even bigger. Olandria's signature lip combo from the villa had become so popular that fans constantly flooded her comments asking what specific products she used. Nick's capitalized on that obsession by creating the official Nicolandria lip combo, a curated set of lipstick, liner, and gloss designed to recreate her exact look from the show. The product launched and sold out in literal hours. Not days, hours. The website crashed multiple times from overwhelming traffic. People were getting delay notifications before the official launch announcement even finished rolling out. For a reality TV couple to have that kind of legitimate pull in the competitive beauty industry was basically unprecedented. It proved that Nicolandria wasn't just a cute couple that fans enjoyed watching on their screens. They were a genuine brand with real commercial power and influence.
Olandria signed with Digital Brand Architects, a major talent management firm that represents A-list influencers and actual celebrities. Her strategy was crystal clear from the beginning. She wanted to expand beyond just being a reality TV personality and build a sustainable, long-term career in lifestyle content and entertainment. She talked openly in interviews about her dreams of modeling for high-fashion brands and working in spaces that had historically excluded people who looked like her. With Nikki by her side, traveling to Greece for the first time for his Kulani campaign, hitting up exclusive brand events in Los Angeles, and documenting their relationship in a way that felt genuine and authentic, she was living out loud and inspiring thousands of people in the process.
Everything looked absolutely perfect from the outside. The fairy tale was complete in every way. Two people who found each other in the most chaotic circumstances imaginable, overcame impossible odds, and built something beautiful together that extended beyond the show. Fans were eating up every single post. Brands couldn't get enough of their combined star power. Their relationship seemed to be going strong even after the camera stopped rolling and real life set in. They weren't rushing to label themselves as boyfriend and girlfriend yet, but they were clearly exclusive and serious about each other. At the reunion special, they talked candidly about the intense pressure they felt from fans to immediately put an official label on their relationship, but they emphasized that they were taking their time and building their connection at their own comfortable pace. It was mature, healthy, and exactly what people wanted to see from a reality TV couple. The narrative was perfect.
But remember Cierra? She hadn't forgotten about any of this. And after months of relative silence while she dealt with her own fallout, she had some things to say. Cierra started dropping hints on social media that got people's attention fast. Nothing too direct at first, just cryptic enough to make people wonder and speculate. She posted a Get Ready With Me video where she talked casually about surviving the villain edit on reality TV and not ending up with the guy who never actually liked her in the first place and wanted her friend the entire time they were together. The subtext wasn't even subtext. It was just text. She was talking about Nick, and she was saying loud and clear that he'd been into Olandria from the very beginning of the season.
Fans immediately split into camps. Some people felt completely vindicated because they'd suspected this exact scenario all along. The signs had been there if you knew where to look. Others thought Cierra was just being messy and bitter, unable to accept that Nick had simply moved on after she left under controversial circumstances. Either way, her comments added a much darker undertone to the Nicolandria fairy tale love story. What if their connection wasn't fate or destiny? What if it was calculated strategy? What if viewers had been watching a performance instead of genuine feelings developing organically?
Cierra kept going, and her comments got more specific. She talked about how she never heard from Nick after leaving the villa, despite them being closed off and supposedly in a serious, committed relationship. No text message, no phone call, no attempt whatsoever to check if she was okay after everything she'd been publicly dragged through. For someone who claimed to deeply care about her and their future together, the complete silence was deafening and painful. She framed it as mourning a relationship that turned out to be entirely one-sided, grieving not just the loss of Nick himself, but the loss of what she genuinely thought they had built together. And when she finally watched the episodes back and saw him immediately couple up with Olandria in the exact same episode she was removed from the villa, it confirmed every suspicion she'd been carrying. He'd just been waiting for an excuse, any excuse, to make his move. She'd been holding him back from what he actually wanted, and the moment she was out of the picture, he didn't waste a single second.
Some fans felt genuinely bad for her in this situation. Getting kicked off a reality show for a legitimate controversy and facing consequences is one thing. That's fair and understandable. But watching your partner move on before your side of the bed is even cold, before you've even processed what happened, that's brutal in a way that cuts deeper. It added insult to serious injury. Others pointed out that Cierra's own actions directly created the situation she found herself in. If she hadn't used offensive language multiple times across multiple years, she'd still be in the villa, and none of this would have happened. Her heartbreak, while undoubtedly real and painful, was ultimately a consequence of her own choices and behavior. The debate raged across social media, but one thing became absolutely certain. The Nicolandria fairy tale had some serious cracks starting to show through the perfect surface.
Then came the absolute bombshell that made everyone question everything they thought they knew. Ace, another contestant from the season who'd been in a relationship with Shelley, did a podcast interview that exploded across the internet. The host asked him point blank if he genuinely believed Nick and Olandria's relationship was real, or if it was performance for the cameras and brand deals. Ace didn't answer right away, but his facial expression said absolutely everything.
He smiled in that deeply uncomfortable way people do when they know something they probably shouldn't share publicly. The host kept pressing, and Ace finally admitted that he had serious doubts about the authenticity of their relationship. He said Olandria had recently visited for Shelley's birthday, and they'd all hung out together, so he had nothing but respect for her as a person. But then, he dropped the hammer that shook everything.
According to Ace's version of events, the last real conversation he'd had with Nick involved Nick explicitly saying there was no romantic spark between him and Olandria. They found each other physically attractive, sure, but there was no deeper emotional connection fueling the relationship. It was casual, friendly, surface level, nothing serious or long-term. Ace's implication was painfully obvious to everyone watching. Nick was strategically using the relationship to secure lucrative brand deals and stay relevant in the post-show landscape. As long as Nicolandria remained a thing that fans obsessed over, the opportunities and money kept flowing. Break up, and both of them fade back into obscurity and irrelevance. It was a business transaction dressed up as a romance, at least according to Ace's insider perspective. The interviewer even hinted that Ace had told him something off-camera that he couldn't repeat on the podcast, something that suggested the relationship was even more fabricated than Ace was willing to say publicly. Fans immediately started spiraling with speculation. What did Ace actually know that he wasn't saying? What couldn't he share on the record? Was Nicolandria genuinely the greatest con in Love Island history? Had everyone been completely played? The questions multiplied faster than anyone could answer them.
Olandria's response was swift and completely unbothered. She tweeted something along the lines of, "Anyway, my event at Tuskegee went amazing yesterday," completely ignoring the accusations and refusing to give them any energy or attention. It was honestly a power move, declining to engage with drama by acting like it didn't exist. Nick stayed silent too, never addressing the podcast or Ace's claims at all. Their approach seemed to be that responding would only make things worse and give the controversy more oxygen. So they just kept posting their normal content and acting like absolutely nothing had happened. Some fans respected the strategy, saying they were above petty drama. Others saw the silence as deeply suspicious. If the accusations were completely baseless and false, why not just shut them down directly?
The timing of Ace's comments was interesting too when you really looked at it. He admitted during the interview that he and Nick hadn't actually spoken in several weeks. So if Nick had supposedly said there was no romantic spark, that conversation happened quite a while ago. But since that alleged conversation, Nick and Olandria had been on multiple trips together across the country, completed several high-profile brand campaigns, and consistently posted about each other in ways that seemed genuinely affectionate and real. Either Nick had a legitimate change of heart and things naturally developed into something more serious, or he was an incredibly committed actor putting on an Oscar-worthy performance. The truth was buried somewhere in the middle of all these wildly conflicting stories, but absolutely no one could agree on where exactly that middle ground was.
What made everything infinitely more complicated was that people had completely different motivations for believing different narratives. Cierra supporters desperately wanted to believe Nick had been playing games all along because it validated her experience and made her look less like someone who got manipulated and used. Nicolandria fans wanted to believe Ace was just stirring up drama for attention and relevance, because admitting the relationship might be fake would destroy the fantasy they'd emotionally invested in for months. Casual observers were just genuinely confused, trying to figure out who to trust when literally everyone involved had a completely different version of events. The mess kept growing and spreading, and nobody could agree on what was actually real versus what was performance.
So here's what we actually know for certain in all this chaos. Cierra Ortega made a serious, harmful mistake that cost her absolutely everything. Her time on Love Island, her shot at the prize money, her carefully built reputation, and the relationship she genuinely thought was solid and real. Whether she deserved the specific level of hatred and vitriol she received is definitely debatable, but facing real consequences for offensive language isn't up for debate at all. She owned her mistakes, apologized directly, and has been trying to move forward with her life. The resentment she clearly feels toward Nick is completely understandable, even if her timing and method of expressing those feelings comes across as bitter to some people. Watching your ex-partner absolutely thrive with someone new while you're still dealing with the radioactive fallout of a massive public controversy would make literally anyone feel some type of way about it.
Nick and Olandria's relationship, whatever it actually is at its core, has been wildly successful from a pure business and commercial standpoint. They've secured brand deals and partnerships that most reality TV contestants only fantasize about in their wildest dreams. They've built a dedicated fan base that's intensely loyal, consistently engaged, and genuinely willing to spend real money on anything and everything they touch or promote. They've essentially become the blueprint and template for how to successfully leverage reality TV fame into something actually sustainable and long-term. Whether that relationship is genuinely fueled by real love and authentic feelings, or if it's a strategic business partnership, or honestly some complicated combination of both those things, is something only the two of them truly know for certain. Relationships are incredibly complicated, even without adding cameras and brand deals and intense public scrutiny into the mix. Adding all that external pressure makes it nearly impossible for outsiders to tell what's completely authentic versus what's performance for the audience.
Then, Ace's accusations throw yet another wrench into an already chaotic situation. Is he genuinely a truth teller trying to expose a fake relationship for the public good? Or is he just a drama starter trying to stay relevant by strategically attaching himself to the season's biggest and most talked about story? His own relationship with Shelley has stayed relatively drama-free throughout all this, which either means he's telling the honest truth about Nick and Olandria as a concerned observer with inside information, or it means he's cleverly deflecting attention away from his own situation by manufacturing problems for someone else. The fact that he openly hasn't spoken to Nick in weeks, but also admitted that Olandria was recently hanging out with him and Shelley, makes his claims feel genuinely inconsistent. If the relationship was so obviously fake and performative, would Olandria really be casually spending personal time with someone who was about to publicly blast her connection on a podcast?
What's absolutely clear through all this mess is that reality TV relationships exist in this strange, uncomfortable space where genuine love and calculated business strategy become completely impossible to separate. Every Instagram post is content and potential revenue. Every date is a golden opportunity for a lucrative sponsored partnership. Every fight or makeup or relationship milestone gets immediately monetized and turned into engagement. That doesn't automatically mean the feelings aren't real and authentic, but it does mean those feelings are always hopelessly tangled up with external factors that have absolutely nothing to do with genuine human connection and compatibility.
Nick and Olandria could legitimately be madly in love with each other, while also strategically and intelligently maximizing their combined brand power and commercial appeal. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive concepts. The truth is almost certainly messier and infinitely more nuanced than any single clean narrative allows for. Maybe Nick did have developing feelings for Olandria while he was still with Cierra, but also genuinely cared about Cierra too at the same time. Maybe he moved on shockingly quickly, not because he was faking everything with Cierra from the start, but because his connection with Olandria felt easier, more natural, and more compatible with who he actually is. Maybe Ace heard Nick vent during a frustrating moment of doubt and took that single conversation as definitive proof the entire relationship was fake, when really it was just completely normal relationship growing pains that every couple experiences. Maybe Cierra's hurt feelings are entirely valid and real, even if her specific interpretation of events isn't completely accurate to what actually happened. Maybe every single person involved is telling their own honest version of the truth, and the full, complete picture is just too complicated and multifaceted for any single perspective to fully capture.
What we're ultimately left with is a genuinely messy human story that got dramatically amplified by social media algorithms, lucrative brand deals, and
intense public opinion. Three people who went on a lighthearted dating show looking for love and connection and instead found controversy, deep heartbreak, unexpected fame, and questions they're still actively trying to answer months later. Fans who invested emotionally in a couple's journey and love story now have to personally grapple with the uncomfortable possibility that what they saw on their screens wasn't the complete story. And everyone directly involved has to somehow figure out how to move forward with their lives when the internet absolutely refuses to let anything go or be forgotten. So where does all this actually leave Nicolandria right now? Still together, still consistently posting content, still doing major brand deals and partnerships, and still completely refusing to put an official label on whatever they have. Whether that's because they're genuinely taking things slow and carefully building something real and lasting, or because putting a formal label on it would make it significantly harder to quietly walk away when the mutually beneficial business arrangement eventually runs its natural course, depends entirely on who you ask and what you choose to believe. The fairy tale continues for now, but fairy tales in the brutal age of social media rarely have clean, satisfying endings. There's always another unexpected twist, another shocking accusation, another piece of information that fundamentally changes how we see and understand the entire story. And honestly, as long as people keep watching, analyzing, and caring, the drama will absolutely keep unfolding in new and unexpected ways. One thing's absolutely certain, though. Love Island USA Season 7 gave us one of the most intensely talked about and debated couples in the show's entire history. Whether Nicolandria is completely real, entirely fake, or something impossibly complicated that exists somewhere in between those extremes, they've already secured their permanent place in reality TV history. And that lasting legacy is probably worth significantly more than any prize money ever could have been. All right, if you made it this far, you're officially part of the Chaos Crew, and I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button one more time just to make sure it's stuck, and drop a comment telling me if you think Nicolandria is real love or just really good business. Either way, I'll see you in the next video where we're diving into even messier reality TV drama. Peace out.